Greetings and welcome back to room 303 in our chats with Emily, as we are calling our readings through the poetry of Emily Dickinson. We are in poem 716 in the Johnson edition, The Day Undressed Herself. And yeah, I mean, right away, that's a pretty controversial line, especially for puritanical readers of Emily's day. Let's watch a woman undress. Wait, you're not supposed to do that. No. I'm talking about the sunset. Oh, now we're back to a poem like 228. Some of you will maybe remember when we did this one, and it makes us smile to return to some of these earlier poems. Blazing in gold and quenching in purple, leaping like leopards to the sky, then at the feet of the old horizon, laying her spotted face to die. Stooping as low as the otter's window, touching the roof and tinting the barn, kissing her bonnet to the meadow, and the juggler of day is gone. Hey, you guys remember when we did Shelley's Defense of Poetry? And some pal of his had said, poetry is a waste of time and poets are idiots. And of course, insulting the great poet Shelley, he decided he would respond with his classic Defense of Poetry, which all of us as poetry lovers should have a copy of this and should read it from time to time to be reminded. And what is it that he said, among a number of things that he said, what is it that he said poets are great at? He said, great poets take the normal stuff we see and somehow make it abnormal. In our study of To a Skylark, for example, we comment on the ways in which Shelley plays that very game himself. And Emily's going to play a very interesting game here. In what way is your watching the sunset like watching a woman, a beautiful woman, take off her clothes? Now, our assumptions are that you've been following our stuff at learnstrong.net. Down that left-hand side, Chats with Emily is our playlist. I'm hopeful you've worked through our set of introductory comments as well as the preceding 715 poems. We just finished with 715, The World Feels Dusty. And here, I think that Emily is returning to a theme we've seen in a number of our poems, yes? The idea of garments and the importance of clothing. Remember, Emily's gown and the dressing in all white is something we've commented on, but now Emily's going to talk about undressing. She'll use the phrase one and only one time in all her poetry, and it is here. The risque, dare we even call it blasphemous tone, I want you to pay attention to. Oh, Emily knew exactly what she was doing. I said this in my series on chats with, or talks with Walt, when I did all the poems of Leaves of Grass, that I was convinced that Whitman was having a lot of fun. Guys, I think Emily's having a lot of fun. She has to know that when readers of her time especially read this, they're like, whoa. We're not allowed to look at someone undressing. That is completely inappropriate in every way. It's voyeuristic, we might say. And then she comes back and, no, I'm talking about the sunset. Hello. Right? What were you talking, kind of thing. You can see how Emily's kind of playing games with you, head games with you. The day undressed herself. Her garter was of gold. Her petticoat of purple plain. Her dimities is old, exactly as the world, and yet the newest star enrolled upon the hemisphere be wrinkled, much as her. Too near to God to pray, too near to heaven to fear, the lady of the Occident retired without a care. Her candles so expire, the flickering be seen on ball of masts in Bosporus and dome and window pane. This is genius. This is genius. Again, we're back to one of her nature-riddled poems. We've seen so many of these already. Emily, man, I don't know if she's not the greatest nature poet of all time. She certainly ranks up there with some of the great ones, doesn't she? And as she plays the game of what is the sunset like, she comes up with a brand new view. I mean, again, we've already seen it. I just read one example, but she says, it's kind of like a woman taking off her clothes as she ends the day. Notice her garter is of gold, and again, it's like whoa! What are we talking about? And she'll force you to keep reading. Her petticoat of purple plain. By the way, notice we go from plain to pain at the end of the poem. Her dimities is old. You'll remember dimities from 278 and 401, right? That kind of special decorative cotton cloth, right? I said in that lecture of of 278, that Emily seems to be playing around with male cloth as broadcloth and female cloth, as we said, muslin in that lecture, or organdy or dimity, right? In other words, nature and the sunset is like a woman taking off her clothes. But notice, this whole experience is as old exactly as the world. And all of a sudden you go, whoa, whoa, oh, wait a minute. We're not talking about a woman. No. And yet, the newest star enrolled upon the hemisphere be wrinkled much as her. Oh, we're talking about the cycles. Everything for Emily is a reminder of the cycles of the world, right? She seems to be suggesting this is one more of those important cycles. Every day, a woman undresses herself, and it's called the sunset. Notice then, as if we're not blasphemous enough or risque enough, she then starts to step towards a certain theological view. Because of the sunset happening every day, it is too near to God to pray, too near to heaven to feel. The lady of the Occident, and of course Occident here is the West, right? She'll have used this, you'll remember in 307. She'll use it again in 866 and 1114. When we hit 1241, it will be the flower of Occident, right? Retired without a care. In other words, she says, she seems to be arguing, the sunset doesn't seem to worry about praying to God, about her relationship to deity. Her candle so expire. We're back to, again, the idea of light and the release of light and the ending of light. The flickering be seen on ball of mast in Bosporus. This is the only use, right, that boundary in Turkey between the East and the West, Europe and Asia, right? And dome and window pane. When we get to 873, guys, we'll come back to this poem. Ribbons of the year, multitude brocade worn to nature's party once, then as flung aside as a faded bead or a wrinkled pearl, who shall charge the vanity of the maker's girl? This personification of nature obviously is brilliant. At 2a, well, obviously she's arguing that the sunset is awesome. It is majestic in every way. And the fact that we get to see it and watch it happen, transpire, it's got to be something that awakens within us something profound. At 2b, well, I love the risque images, especially at the beginning, a woman undressing, which makes any number of readers go, wait, what are we reading here? At 3a, I can't help but be amazed that you have two poets living at the same time, Emily Dickinson and Walt Whitman, who are playing a very similar game with this linguistic risque burlesque. You'll remember in Song of Myself, Passage 5, we've given full lectures, of course, at learnstrong.net when we did our talks with Walt. We did all the poems of the deathbed edition of Leaves of Grass. When we did Song of Myself, Passage 5, and what he says about what he and his soul were doing to each other, it is radically risque. It was risque for the moment, it's still risque to many readers today. Finally, in 3b, is there another way, more powerful, to think about the sunset? And the next time you look at the sun, are you going to remember this poem? Emily bets you will. Thank you.